Hey, what's up, my YouTube family, and welcome back to another episode here on K-Pop G. This is your boy Creator G, and as always, we are back in the building. With that being said, I react to everything K-pop, the music, outstanding performances, choreography, scandal, news, everything K-pop. So if you are new to K-pop or you're just a fan of K-pop just like me, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, and also put in the comments what you would like me to react to next. With that being said, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for today. So I'm going to be diving into some K-pop news. In this one particular, this video is more about how smaller groups are being erased from award shows or K-pop award shows specifically. So I'm really excited to see what it's about. I really want to dive into the news side and also get updated with everything happening in the K-pop industry. With that being said, yeah, let's dive straight into it. Let's go.
Okay, let's see what this news is all about.
You had everything to happen. Yeah. Where is your scooter? Where is your scooter? Where is it?
Hi guys. The P1 Harmony Mama situation made me furious, because it exposes how this industry treats anyone who isn't Stray Kids or SPA. You've got Keho telling fans he was devastated not to be invited to Mama 2025. It was salty and humiliating in the way only an awards industrial.
Okay, so to my understanding, this video is basically saying that, groups are getting frustrated because they haven't been invited to the Mama Award show. To my understanding, Mama is one of the biggest award shows for K-pop. This is a platform where you could get exposed and also where you are getting recognized for the work that you've done.
Complex can make idols feel when they're erased from the room on the biggest week of the year. Mid-tier groups are being erased from the big award shows, and everyone with power is pretending it's just natural selection. A decade ago, Mama, Golden Disc, MMA, all those shows would squeeze in smaller or mid-tier groups between the heavy hitters. You'd get a stacked lineup where, yeah, you endured a bunch of obvious filler, but at least it was varied. Mid-tier boy groups would pop in between EXO and Big Bang. Rookie girl groups would sneak a stage before.
Okay, so basically what this narrator is saying, I love the voice by the way, is that smaller groups or mature groups are not getting invited anymore. They're not getting the chance to be exposed, amongst the big hitters. For me personally, K-pop has a lot of groups and a lot of artists, all trying to compete for that number one spot, which is really difficult. This is a very saturated industry and not everybody gets the limelight or the spotlight. But it also goes back to how much work you did, and how much streams you get, and how much there must be measurements for this. So I think basically from a production standpoint, if you don't tick all the boxes, you'll not get invited.
For Twice or Mamamoo, maybe they didn't win anything, maybe they only got 3 minutes, but they had a moment, bigger stage, better production, fan cams, YouTube uploads, industry people watching, journalists forced to type their name correctly for once. Now, the middle is being hollowed out. The lineup template is basically mega established 4th-gen powerhouses, fresh rookies already pre-sold as the next big thing. Maybe 1 or 2 older 3rd or 2nd-gen acts for nostalgia seasoning. Acts with direct pipeline ties to the broadcaster and sponsors. And everyone else? Stay home and stream it. P1 Harmony is the perfect example of who gets erased in this model.
Okay, first of all, I don't know who P1 Harmony is. But for me, like I said, from an artist standpoint, if you're working all year, you are touring, you are bringing in the numbers. And if you don't get invited to one of the biggest award shows, it's kind of sad and kind of frustrating, but it also falls down to your label and how much your label actually pushes you and how much they actually want you to succeed. If your label is not contributing to that, then it's a no-go, I mean, what can you do? What can you do?
They aren't Nugu, they have an actual fandom, international touring and critical respect. But they're not at that bring in millions of live views by name alone tier. And they're not the shiny new monster rookies being pushed by a major conglomerate. They fall into that cursed category, relevant, respected, but not essential to ratings. That's the group that disappears first when award shows decide to streamline and elevate the lineup, and people act shocked like, why are they sad? Awards don't matter anyway, that's fan cope. Fans love saying awards are rigged. No one cares, right up until their fave wins, and then suddenly it's gospel.
Hmm. I'm one of that too. If my artist is not invited to an award show, I'm like, he doesn't have to be there. He's doing good on his own. But if they win, and then I'm like, he should have won, or I'm glad that he won, or I'm just. But yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, there is probably some sort of measurement that these production companies look at. So if you're not bringing in the numbers, if it's a numbers game, and it's all about profit. So if you're not on that level, I guess you're not being invited amongst all of these other groups, because there is, I know, a lot of groups right now in the fourth generation of K-pop that's doing pretty well for themselves, and they've also worked hard and they deserve to be there. But a lot of the times, artists are always going to feel like they deserve to be there. Um, Even though they are not winning awards or anything, they'll just like to be there. And even if it's a 1 minute stage time, just to get that exposure um, for other people to see them or other fans to see them. And yeah, it's frustrating from an artist's perspective.
But idols themselves? They know these shows are a currency. An invitation means your name on the running
Definitely.
order, press coverage, pre and post show content, brand people seeing you on a massive stage, legitimacy in the eyes of companies, casuals, and even your own family. You're not just missing a trophy when you're skipped, you're missing proof you exist in the industry's hierarchy.
Exactly.
When Kehoe says he's devastated, he's basically saying, we worked all year, we have fans, we have music, but when the big party happens, we're not even on the guest list, and the shows are fully complicit in this. Look at how things evolved. Back in second gen or early third gen, you had a clearer spread of hierarchy, but also more variety. Big groups mattered obviously, but the ecosystem under them still got scraps. Golden
Yeah.
Disc Awards was seen as the more serious one, rooted in sales and digital performance. Old
Okay.
school record award vibes. Melon Music Awards had chart clout. It reflected what the public actually streamed and bought. Mama was flashier and immediately more commercial. People already joked it was an attendance award, but it still had a certain thrill because of the stages and the mixing of acts. Fast forward to late third gen and fourth gen. Mama goes full global festival, chasing international hype, YouTube numbers, Western press blurbs, the production
Exactly. These production companies are chasing numbers at the end of the day. They're all about the money, how much money they can make, and if you're bringing viewers to their platform. And if you're not on that level, I guess you're just not being invited. You're not seen as one of those groups that outperforms everyone else. So in the hierarchy, you're at the bottom and you need to work your way up. But then again, it also depends on your label, how hard your label pushes you, and how hard they actually work for you to be there. So if that's not happening, I guess it's not
value
happening.
explodes, the stages become more cinematic, but the credibility inside Korea sinks. For the Korean general public, Mama is increasingly seen as Net's own playground, biased towards certain companies and relationships, more like a
Politics, sometimes productions could be biased against certain labels. Maybe they saying, look, you need to pay this amount of money for your artist to be invited, or else. When politics get involved, especially in the K-pop system, it can get really, really tough. And I can imagine, because this type of thing doesn't just happen in the K-pop world. It happens in other industries as well, in the Western side. It happens all around.
televised festival and marketing vehicle than a strict music award. Meanwhile, Golden Disc keeps its reputation as something closer to the Korean Grammy-ish energy. Not perfect or holy, but more respected domestically because it's seen as based on quantifiable results like sales and digital stats with a long history. MMA also keeps weight because Melon is literally the main domestic streaming platform, winning or even just being their signals Korean public traction. Mama, huge online, insane streaming numbers, global chatter, but not the top prestige marker inside Korea. Internationally though, Mama is king because it's the most aggressively promoted globally. It's
Mm.
designed as clip content, collabs, big stage
Even
ideas,
I've heard of
cinematic
Mama.
camera work.
I don't know
Horrible,
about the
by the
other
way.
award
It's
shows.
easy to stream, subtitled, and cut into shareable moments. It runs for 2 days, feels like an
Wow,
event,
two
so you
days
end up with
long.
this split. Koreans respect Golden Disc and MMA more as serious institutions.
Okay.
International fans treat Mama like it's the Olympics plus Met Gala plus Grammys in one. And in that gap, mid-tier groups get left behind on all fronts. Award shows are now operating like pure ratings machines.
They're operating like pure rating machines. Exactly. It's all about the ratings nowadays. You don't have to be talented to be famous anymore. And you don't need to be famous to be talented. You get what I'm saying?
They don't need third-gen legends anymore because fourth and fifth gen can carry an entire show alone. You can easily build a lineup only from Stray Kids, TXT,
And by the way, this industry is so much, it's too saturated. Like, who do you invite? Who do you leave behind? Who do who do you push as an artist? Like, what do you do when there's so many of these people? I mean, this thing has been it runs for 2 days. We can't have everyone there. It's just impossible. Otherwise, this thing would run off for a week. You know, like the narrator was saying, third and fourth gen could basically fill the whole show for the 2 days.
Hypen, Espa, Ive, Le Seraphim, Baby Monster, Illit and whatever new Hybe, SM or JYP rookies are hot, and you've already
None
guaranteed
of the
streaming
groups you
numbers,
just mentioned,
Twitter
by the
trends,
way.
YouTube views, sponsor satisfaction. Why would Mnet waste stage time and production budget on a mid-tier group when they can give another 8 minutes to someone guaranteed to go viral? That's literally the
That's what I'm
calculation,
saying.
not who deserves visibility, but
That's what the game is. If I'm in charge of a production, and I know this group can bring in more numbers, but I know this group is so talented and they have the potential to go big. Okay. There's another group. Imagine you have 20 groups or 50 groups. Who do you choose? Like, I don't know. Maybe this measurement thing that I was mentioning doesn't even exist. Maybe they don't even look at anything like that. Maybe it's just about, you hot, you were hot this month, you were cool, you brought in so many numbers, blah blah blah, you were invited. Maybe there's politics. I don't, production doesn't like this label because of XYZ. You're not invited, your artist won't be invited. Or this simple stupid kind of things.
who justifies every second of runtime in pure numbers. And it's not just Mama, Golden Disc, MMA, Soul Music, Korea Music, all of them are shrinking the middle. The shows are already long as heck. Mama is 2 days and still doesn't have room for anyone who isn't a top draw or a prepackaged super rookie. They'll book the
Exactly.
chart monsters, the big four acts, the Nepo babies and the one or two critical darlings they need to prove they're fair. Everyone else? Hope your company negotiates you into a unit stage or enjoy cheering from your dorm. What makes this nasty is that fans pretend they don't care about awards, but they absolutely care about whether
Of
their
course,
faves are
fan
seen as in the room
cares
for them.
about the awards.
And mid-tier groups know
mean,
that too.
who
They know
wouldn't?
that being at Mama, even if you don't win, gives you fan cams, 4K stages, reaction clips, viral moments. Your
Exactly.
performance can suddenly convert new fans who came only for the bigger names, companies, and brands. Watch how the audience responds to you on those stages. For smaller or mid-tier groups, award shows aren't just a meaningless flex, they're a lifeline. That's why Kiho's comment hits so hard. He's basically saying, we need chances like that, we wanted that. We were waiting and it didn't come, and then there's the class divide of it all. The industry right now is basically the top tier, aka Hybe and Big 3 acts plus huge non-Big 4 like G Idol, ZB.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in the big four, or if you weren't hot in the first 6 months, I guess your ass ain't getting invited. Even if you bring in the numbers, this is what it seems like. If you're favorable, if your company negotiates well, you probably will get invited. But if your company doesn't negotiate well, man, I don't think you'll have a spot in this stage. You know. But then again, how do you justify who goes, who comes? I think that is why fans are frustrated.
One, etc., who are unavoidable brand names. Then the baby, top, pre-anointed monster rookies who are already treated like main event acts from debut because of survival shows, viral pre-debut marketing, big company backing. Then we get to the void, where groups like P1 Harmony Live, hardworking, vocally capable, solid performers, decent fandom, but not backed by a megacorporation and not shoved down the general public's throat by 30 survival shows.
If your label is not within the hierarchy, and your label is small, But the artists are big. Doesn't seem like you're getting invited, even if you bring in the numbers, even if you're talented. Like I said, you don't need to be talented to be famous or to be invited, or you don't need to be invited because you are famous or you bring in the numbers. I don't know. It's very confusing. Maybe I might be contradicting myself, but I mean, they also contradicting themselves. Like how?
And brand tie-ins. And the more the awards calculations turns into we only book who maximizes ratings. The deeper that void becomes, ironically, even huge names like ATs are iced every year. What makes it even more depressing is that second gen and early third gen did not operate like this to this extreme. Yes, there was favoritism, politics and payola obviously, but you still regularly saw mid-tier girl groups with one semi-hit getting a spot, mid-tier boy groups with small fandoms performing in the first hour, older or quietly successful acts respected with performance slots even if they weren't the hot topic that year. Now if you're not either massively current or strategically useful, you're toast. And because Mama especially is so focused on international optics, they're not thinking, how do we support the ecosystem? They're thinking, what will look best in a
This ecosystem is fucked because there's so much artists, there's so many crews, there's so many teams, there's so many bands, there's so many. It's missed.
global highlight reel. That's why you see heavily edited cinematic intros, Avengers-style collabs, and 10-minute legendary stages for the top names, but barely a crumb for anyone in the middle. The show is optimized for stan culture and Western coverage, not for nurturing breadth inside K-pop. On top of that, award shows have leaned so hard into attendance equals award that everything feels transactional. If your company doesn't send you,
Feels
you're not winning
artificial.
anything. If they don't think you're worth pushing, you're not
Yeah, if you come and don't think you're worth pushing, they're not going to push you. Simple as that.
going. That further crushes groups whose labels either don't have strong relationships with the broadcasters or don't see the return on investment. So yeah, lesser known acts not being there is not some random oversight. It's a symptom of a bigger shift. Awards becoming rating machines instead of industry showcases.
Exactly.
Mid-tier acts being treated like dead weight. K-pop's middle class being erased as 4th and 5th gen titans monopolize attention. Meanwhile, the
Exactly.
prestige conversation is split in two realities. Inside Korea, Golden Disc and MMA still hold more respect as awards. Mama is seen more as spectacle and corporate branding than a pure music prize. The public side-eyes Mama's voting criteria and favoritism, and has for years. Outside Korea, international fans crown Mama as biggest, most important because it's loudest, longest, flashiest. People barely talk about Golden Disc criteria. They just repost the stages. MMA pops up more now that it's streaming globally,
Of
but
course.
still doesn't have the same Mama hype. So you end up with this ironic mess where the show mid-tier groups are desperate to get invited to because of exposure and
It's
hype.
hard.
Is also the show that's least
Stuff out
interested in
there.
them. The
Stuff.
more respected awards domestically are also tightening up, cutting the lineup to only whoever proves their worth on charts and sales. And in the middle of all that, idols like P1 Harmony are standing there fully aware that their year of work is being quietly ranked as not worth the stage time.
Yeah.
People love to say awards aren't everything, and they're right, they're not. A concert tour, a
Awards
loyal
isn't
fandom,
everything.
stable sales.
A loyal fan base, if you're doing the work, you're getting the money. As an artist, I wouldn't worry about award shows. That's on the side. That's a bonus if you get invited. But if I'm getting the money and I have a good fan base, fuck the award show, man.
That's the real backbone. But don't gaslight idols and pretend this stuff doesn't matter at all. Being invited is a visible acknowledgement. You're part of this year's story. When you're not invited, the message is just as loud. You're not essential to the narrative we're selling anymore. And that's what hurts most about what Kehoe said, not just the frustration, but the fact that he knows exactly where P1 Harmony sits in the food chain now, and he's
Okay.
honest enough to say it out loud while the industry pretends.
It's good to know where you sit in the food chain though, because now you know what you need to work on, what goals you need to reach, where you need to be to go higher up on the ladder. That's basically what it's about.
Everything is just scheduling and limited slots. The truth is simple and ugly. Mama, MMA, Golden Disc. All of them have decided that the safest way to protect their relevance is to glue themselves to the biggest, loudest, most profitable names and
Exactly.
let the rest rot. And the more that goes on, the more K-pop stops looking like a diverse scene and starts looking like a curated museum of whoever trends hardest on TikTok that quarter. Groups like P1 Harmony, ATEEZ and others deserve better than that. But as long as ratings matter more than range, you're going to keep hearing stories like Kehoe's. Artists who did everything right, built something real and still get told they're not big enough to even stand on the same stage as the people they share release calendars with. And no amount of awards don't matter anyway from fans is going to change how that feels for them, and if we really zoom out, that's the scariest part. This isn't just about one group missing one show. It's about an industry that keeps shrinking the definition of worthy until only the top 1% get to be visible, aka hype, and everyone else is expected to be grateful for scraps and silence.
Wow, very interesting video actually. Even though the voice was a bit weird for me. However, I get what the narrator is trying to say, and it makes complete sense. Being in such a saturated industry, you need to produce, overwork yourself, because this is what the labels want. The labels are overworking each and every one of these artists. Even the artist that is on top, I promise you, they work their ass off. You don't see the behind the scenes. So there's things that they have to do to be there on top. We will never know. We don't know what they have to do to be there. Those that were invited, I think you should be happy you're not invited, because not so much pressure is being put on you at the end of the day. But at least if you're still getting money from touring, you got a big fan base, you getting the money, you getting the guap, you're good. You don't need an award show. You don't need that. You have TikTok, you have these other things to give you more exposure. Come up with something different, come up with a viral dance, come up with something that can make you trend in that moment. Use, if you want to be invited to an award show, come up with a nice strategic plan. So because a lot of the times, what I've seen in the K-pop industry, a lot of the things are copy paste. People are looking the same, they're dressing the same. Only certain type of groups are being unique, coming up with different concepts. But if you're in a mid-tier group, you need to think outside the box. Like, you need to literally think outside the box. It's difficult. I know it's difficult. It's a hard industry, but I get why fans also are upset and frustrated, and why this P1 Harmony group could be upset. They weren't invited, but it is what it is. Move on and keep on producing. This is the same that happens in the Western side. Chris Brown never won a Grammy before, even though he have tons of songs that is on the Billboard 100. However, he keeps pushing, he keeps producing at the end of the day, and that doesn't define him as an artist. So yeah, from an artist perspective, I definitely get that, and from a production perspective, I also get that. These production companies, or yeah, these people on top of the pyramid, they are greedy for money. It's just about money, how much money you can bring them, and how much views you can bring to their show, and that's about it. So I do feel when she's saying the major group are starting to fade out, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a major group anymore. You either here, you either here, you either rich or you poor. You either poor or you rich. Sorry, so there's a gap. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So you need to somehow, I don't know how. I'm not in the K-pop industry. I'm not an artist in the K-pop industry, but you can still make it work at the end of the day. You know? But yeah, thank you so much for watching this, guys. I do hope that you found this very insightful about how smaller groups are being erased from award shows. Very, very interesting. If you want me to react to more things like this, please let me know. I'll be glad to do that. I am trying something new with more news commentary, or more news insights on in the K-pop industry. So yeah, thank you for watching this. And if you are new to K-pop, or if you're a fan of K-pop already, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, and put down in the comments what you would like me to react to next. With that being said, your boy G is out of this building. Peace.